Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that introduction and really happy to be with all of you right now. Of course, wish this could be in person, but this truly is the next best thing. That is the beauty of technology, is that we're still able to connect and have this virtual experience and this virtual event across this whole week. And Detroit Startup Week has done such an amazing job having some really amazing programming, and Dell is really excited to be a part of it through Startup Nation, through our partnership as well. So today, I know these are kind of our fluid moments of office hours that you're welcome to come in with questions for Dell Technologies, and specifically I represent our small business department. So if you are a solo entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, startup, small business within the United States, we are really here to service you. So 1 to 99 employees is our focus group. So you're not too small for Dell Small Business. We are right there to support you. And I really wanted to take this time to present what Dell has put together, the Ultimate Work From Home Guide. I know everyone is currently living that, and you may be in this transition period of potentially going back to your office, potentially not, but wanted to highlight some great best practices that we have and some really great technology that you can utilize with yourself and your business. And if you are joining us today and you have joined our other programming throughout this week, we had some office hours on Tuesday with Startup Nation and Huntington Technologies, Steve Krasnick, where we went in depth on cybersecurity. So if you weren't able to catch that, we will have a recording at the end of this week that we'll be sending out. So if you want some more in-depth look on cybersecurity best practices and how to boost your online security for cyber threats, that is going to be a really great programming to view after the fact. We also had a wonderful webinar this morning with our Senior Director of Small Business North America Sales, and that's with our Director, Bert Powers, and he discussed just the overall implications and impacts that COVID has had on small businesses, and as a leader, his recommendations and best practices of what he's currently living and providing to the Dell Small Business team. And tomorrow we have some really amazing programming starting with Brad Graber, who's with Powerhouse Animation, a animation studio out of Austin, Texas, which is where we're headquartered out of. That's where Dell's headquarters is. And so he's going to be speaking on the startup kind of community out of Austin, Texas, and where they got their start for their business, their animation studio. And then we have Gary Radburn, who is going to be speaking on AR and VR. So we have some amazing programming, and we'll go ahead and get started with the topic today. And if you do have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I know those will be kind of funneled over to me, and I'm happy to pause in what I'm discussing with you all today and take those questions as they come in. I want them to be time sensitive and timely to the conversation, so make sure that I tackle them as we go. But wanted to go ahead and start with the Ultimate Work From Home Guide. So this has been some content that was put together actually for Dell employees, kind of Dell's recommendations for the employees to, reflect on and be aware of and be cognizant of while we're transitioning to work from home or throughout this whole phase of working from home. And looking at it, I thought, wow, this is, really foundational information, but it's great to share with entrepreneurs and startups and small businesses because everyone needs this reminder through this really interesting time that we're all going through right now of working kind of solitary and trying to stay connected and working as business as usual in this quite different environment. So these are some really great best practices for yourself to apply within your everyday life, but then also to apply to your business. So to be able to take a step back and remind yourself that, not everyone is plug and play in this work from home environment, and this can be challenging for some. So to be able to have those check-ins and remind your employees, remind your colleagues, remind your friends and family who are also working from home to keep these different best practices in mind. So, you're working efficiently, effectively, productively, but also within a really good state of mind and with self-care involved as well. So we have 7 tips, and you'll kind of see 7 is this number that we always tend to gravitate towards, but we have 7 tips for a better work remote experience, just to keep you balanced and productive while working from home. So I found this really interesting, and again, please pause me if there's any questions that are coming through as I'm getting started here. But in 2019, only 3.6% of Americans worked from home full-time. Obviously, the numbers are most likely staggering at this point. This is far different than the 2020 view. So we're definitely feeling the burden in a sense, but also this really amazing shift in the business landscape at this time. And so we're hoping that these best practices can really help and be applicable to your business immediately. First and foremost, and this again kind of is, and maybe a foundational moment, but it's a good reminder, and that is support your work style. So when we think back to how we were functioning day in, day out in the four walls of your business, whether that be an office space, a retail space, hospitality, restaurants, or hotel and lodging, it really depends on what type of role you were within, but what was your work style? Were you highly collaborative, working with teams every single day? Were you more secluded and working more independently? What type of meetings were you having every day? How many breaks were you having? There's just so much that goes into what your actual work style was and how that keeps you productive and how comfortable you are in that state to now apply whenever you're working from home. And luckily we have these collaborative platforms such as these streaming platforms, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, all of these ways that we can stay communicated with your colleagues and your employers, employees, and community. But having that work style be first and foremost what you set is going to really kind of set the tone of how your overall work from home environment and experience is going to be. So that's kind of number 1 of 7. Going into the second is creating your dedicated workspace. So this is nesting in a sense of what's going to keep you most productive and efficient and effective from home, from your actual desk setup. So everyone is very specific of how they want their desk set up. I know I am, and I had it a very particular way back in the office. And just to give a little background, I've actually been working remote since March of last year. So this is a bit more business as usual for myself. So I'm happy to give my recommendations of what's helped me over a course of over a year now of working fully remote. But it's to say you have to create that natural dedicated space to really feel like you are in the right mindset for a typical workday. And this can be, ever changing, whether you are working from your home, your family home, maybe you're transitioning back into the office, but you still need that dedicated workspace where you have room to either create or have your technology spread out how you need it, have your laptop, your docking station, your multiple monitors, and we'll go through all that good stuff as well. But that's another really good recommendation. And it's also, you want to make sure that you're positioned somewhere with a strong Wi-Fi connection. I'm sure many and many of you have joined Zoom calls or other collaborative platforms where the Wi-Fi, you can just tell on the other end for someone is not working so well and they're freezing, and it causes a lag, and that really just causes a blip in the overall meeting, and it causes a pause in that productivity. So making sure that you're taking the step and you're being mindful of if you're near your strong Wi-Fi signal, so that's not happening on your end, extremely helpful and can make a big difference. And if you're doing a really time-sensitive presentation or customer-facing, all of these things to keep that professionalism at its peak as it was whenever you were in your four walls of your business, that's what we're trying to capture here and succeed at. I will pause before starting on the third and just check in if we have any questions before I move on.
No questions quite yet, but hi, Gary. Welcome.
Yes, hello. If you're just joining us, hi there.
I'll definitely chime in and let you know, Megan.
Perfect. All right, great. So going into our third best practice for this ultimate work from home guide is going to be connecting with tech during social distancing. So again, a little bit self-explanatory, but it's a helpful reminder just to know that, don't go off on an island, even though we are social distancing and we're having to separate ourselves from our normal workspace and fellow employees, colleagues, friends, family. there's a way to stay connected, and you really have to lean on that during these times, especially with your employees and especially with your customers and your community. So utilizing the technology that's out there, I'd say, you know, entrepreneurs and startups are always on the cutting edge. So, you know, I'm not worried about entrepreneurs and startups in this arena, but make sure that you're not losing sight of this. And on the flip side, you know, there is such thing as too much Zoom. Or too many collaborative meetings over video conferencing. And so, you know, being mindful that the video conference meetings that you are setting up with your team and that you are setting up with your friends and family, you're not overdoing it and causing, you know, almost like a Zoom overload or a video conferencing overload. But again, it's still extremely important to maybe have those daily check-ins every other day, maybe weekly, depending on how your team functioned outside of these COVID restrictions, just to make sure that you are communicating that active flow of communication. The open door policy that you may have within the office is still very much so active from home, because this isolation, like I said, not all individuals can really function or feel as good as they did within the office. It can really be a strain on some. And so you want to make sure that the connection is still there within social distancing. And the best way to do that is through technology. Exactly what we're doing today, having this opportunity to come online and look at my webcam, be connecting with so many people and still getting this content and communication and message out there is what's going to be most important. And to say the same, like I mentioned, of doing this and focusing on your customers as well, this is just now a new medium for you to connect with your customers, to connect with, you know, whatever audience you were intending on beforehand with you know, pre-COVID. That's what you need to now focus on with the technology that's at your fingertips. So utilizing social media, such as, you know, Facebook Lives and different events that can go live to engage your customers, or having these different stories or polls that you can submit to your customers through technology of what are you wanting to see right now, or what are you missing the most right now, or, you know, we have a food truck and we're going to be in this area, what are you wanting us to have available and ready to go? So there's just so many different walks of life of how this can be used across different industries within startups and entrepreneurs, but it's really leaning on tech now more than ever. And again, why Dell Technologies is wanting to be here to support is we do have, you know, a bevy and a list of different solutions that can cover you as a business owner or a startup in this different area to stay connected, to utilize tech to your advantage. And so that's going to wrap up our third. And an interesting little tidbit is that 94% of businesses say video conferencing has increased their productivity. So we're seeing a lot of really great feedback across the board with video conferencing. But again, you know, it can be overdone at times. And next up is the recommendation of closing apps for better bandwidth. So this is, you know, whenever you're seeing that lag time, some of the biggest culprits are just having a lot of different applications up at once and a lot going on in your system. And I think now more than ever, we're seeing that whenever you have multiple people in the household that isn't always in the household at the same time. And with, you know, not much going on that you can do outside of social distancing, you are leaning on technology more than ever. You're streaming more than ever, whether it be TV shows, movies, games. So there's just a lot that is, you know, a burden on your connection and your speeds and your bandwidth out there. So if you are in the midst of having this major presentation or this major pitch that you have that's still going on while we're social distancing, it's recommended to make sure that you have all of those applications closed down. If you were streaming a show for your kiddo that you were watching earlier that morning, close it down so that it's not going to be taking up the resources on your system and running in the background and really causing a delay and a lag. So a simple tip, but can go a long way if you are experiencing that now and you think, oh, well, I should have closed down all those applications I wasn't using when I was presenting, that maybe wouldn't have caused my application to crash. Many different reasons behind that. And this next one, near and dear to my heart, you know, you need to take real breaks because you deserve it. And it goes without saying that, you know, when you're in the office, I guess the old joke of like going up to water jug or whatever that may have been called, you still need to take those. And I think what was so great about being within the office or being within the four walls of your business, whether it was a retail space or, like I said, hospitality, there's, so many different businesses out there. There was still that time where you could take a step back, go take a lunch with a colleague, or go walk by someone's desk and start up a conversation. And sometimes those conversations can move into really good ideas for being applied to the business, or it could just be about your personal life and what's going on outside of the workplace that is just a little bit more relaxing and conducive to your mental health. So, take those breaks, still make sure to do it. It's so hard with the screens right in front of you and nothing much going on behind you, and being able to really focus and dive in on work. And that is great from, for a productivity standpoint, but you do want to keep in mind and be mindful to take those breaks, hydrate, stretch, and just unplug, kind of walk away from the technology for a little bit to have some family time and make sure that that's a priority also. So that's, one of a really important recommendation and best practice that we recommend. And 6, it kind of goes hand in hand with taking those breaks, but also balancing, your work-life balance and your lifestyle there. And so, like I said, it's hard to walk away whenever it's right in front of you and it's so easily accessible. And trust me, with my multiple monitors, my laptop, and my docking station, it makes it so easy to just stay here and keep working. But you do have to maintain that a happy personal life. And find time to continue to be social with your community and with your friends and family, and relax, obviously within the safe measures of the recommendations for the current COVID restrictions. But it's still, really important to, take the time and have permission to shut it down work-wise at the end of the day. And 7th is one of the most important recommendations that we have, and I kind of touched early. If you're just now joining, we actually had a full session on cybersecurity Tuesday with myself from Dell Technologies, and then Steve Krasnick from Huntington Technology out of Detroit and outer area Detroit. We went into really in-depth specifics on the best practices for cybersecurity and boosting your cybersecurity against cyber criminals. And again, I kind of called out 7 just seems to be this lucky number, but we do have 7 best practices for being really aware of your cybersecurity and making sure that it's a priority as you're working from home. So first and foremost, it's all about education. And so you're really wanting to make sure that education is at the forefront, making sure that your employees are educated on what to look out for as cyber threats, making sure you are educated if you are the startup founder or the owner of the small business. And then just making sure that your friends and family are educated as well outside of your workplace. This is something that we're all in this together in a sense, so you want to just carry that over. But education is huge because there's just so many different tactics out there that we continually are seeing, some new, some very old, that have been happening for a really long time. But all about education of knowing exactly what's in your environment, what should you be protecting, what potential threats are out there, and what are common threats for small businesses that are occurring every day. Just an example, we see a ton of email phishing. That's been, what can get small businesses the most, and education on that with your employees and yourself of just knowing, okay, who am I consistently emailing? What, major application providers or software providers am I typically conversing with on the daily? What are my typical customers that I'm having conversations with over email every single day? And recognizing the correct domains. You'll commonly see with email phishing, the email looks real. It looks like something you've received before, looks exactly like how I click and pay an invoice, but you notice that the domain is slightly spelled wrong. So these are just little nuances that cyber criminals are becoming more and more savvy every single day to try to trick small businesses and consumers around the world. And so just educating your workforce on what to look out for can go a long way. And we have actually seen that 33% of small businesses don't have any level of education on cyber tactics within their business. So if you don't currently, I would highly recommend taking the time out of a day coming up. It can only be 30 minutes or 15 minutes of a quick Zoom meeting or a quick video conferencing meeting to highlight some of these threats that can be occurring within your business. And typically we see that once a small business has been a victim of a cyber crime, on average, it costs a small business about $38,000, to either fix the issue or to try to get their data back or try to get whatever was compromised back. And sometimes that's not even the case. So it's just a really hefty amount to take these parameters into play. So next up, we recommend installing antivirus. And I know I'm going in a little bit more detail here. So you're thinking, well, I am already seeing the video that was recorded on Tuesday right now, but trust me, that recording had a lot more detail as well. But installing antivirus is the next easiest thing to do. You have to think of all of the different endpoints that you and your employees are using. That is, you're using critical company data every single day or critical customer data every single day. So your laptops, your desktops, every single unit that is accessing for business use should have antivirus. I kind of like to explain it in the sense of home security. So if you think of inside the home, you have actual home security that you've had set up. And so that's to protect, the inside of your home. And then that deadbolt on the wall is what we're going to kind of fast forward to number 5. That acts as your firewall. That's what's protecting from those outside intrusions. So antivirus, extremely important. Next up, two-factor authentication. So a lot of you maybe have already seen this in applications. Newer applications, older applications are starting to introduce this as well, and websites as well. So it has a secondary form of logging in to ensure that it is the correct person logging in. So let's say you were to log into your app with maybe your password or your thumbprint or a login, it would also send a secondary key or combination of letters and numbers, something specific and time sensitive that would run out of time to a different device, whether that be an email, a text message to a personal device, but then you would have to enter in that new passcode that comes through. So just 2 levels of logging into an application can really go a long way. So if your passwords do get compromised from a cyber criminal, you are not completely out of luck. You have that secondary net to catch you, so that cyber criminal is not able to access your important information. And that brings me to the 4th, which is advanced passwords. So this is another, really simple introduction for boosting your cyber security, and that's just making sure that your password isn't something easily guessable. So we don't recommend having it be a street name or a pet name or a birthday, something that you're maybe posting about all the time on social media that's easily guessed and hacked and compromised. So having a unique password, and we have different ways to kind of explain that, but having multiple different characters and a different combination, maybe writing the words out with letters and numbers. There's a whole list of ways that you can do this. And then also having just a really great secure password keeper. Those are recommended because you're only having to use one password to log into this password keeper that contains all of your passwords, and you can make that one single password into that password keeper really hard to guess. That's the one that you have to remember, but it's really hard to crack from a cyber criminal or hacker's perspective. And then, we have some, I know Steve recommended LastPass, and there's a couple of others that can be recommended as well. And then 5th is using a firewall. So this is going to help for outside intrusions for coming into your environment. And this is if you have multiple systems connecting to or networked within your environment as well, is what's recommended for introducing a firewall. And we have SonicWall, which is our firewall partner. And so we have some really great scalable recommendations for small businesses, no matter what size, if you are looking to introduce a firewall. Also, backing up your data is huge. That's going to make a huge difference, especially if you are needing to stay HIPAA compliant, or if you do have critical customer information that you need to have on record for years in the future, making sure that all of this data and all of this information is backed up properly. So Dell has a list of solutions there from a backup perspective. So if you're looking for cloud storage backups or on-premise server backups, or maybe a hybrid, we have a lot of different areas of solutions there that are scalable and able to be corrected for what size of business you are. And then lastly, the 7th out of that magic number 7 is setting up a VPN, which is a virtual private network. And so especially whenever you're working from home, you are connecting from either your home Wi-Fi, or if you are social distancing safely on the patio of a coffee shop, what have you. If you do have a VPN, that takes a public network and encrypts it to be a private network. So all of your website traffic, your traffic that you're utilizing on that device is now encrypted. So these are just 7 tactics to just boost that online security, and that is our 7th and final tip in the overall guide for working from home. So I know a lot of them are more so lifestyle decisions, making sure that you have your dedicated desk setup, making sure that you're taking those breaks and you're utilizing technology to the fullest capability to stay connected with you and your employees and your community and your friends and family, but then also making sure that cybersecurity and security in general is a really high priority for you. And I'll go ahead and pause here and then just see if there's been any questions that have come through.
Karen just asked a great question, which was just asking if this session would be recorded. And so the answer is yes, the session is being recorded. I don't know exactly when the sessions will be posted, but all sessions are being recorded. They're going to be edited and go live as soon as possible. So I think they're shooting for next week, but and I believe it's all getting posted on the Startup Week YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. So Karen, stay tuned. There will definitely be messaging around that, but yeah, it will be posted.
Perfect. Well, and hi, Karen. So thank you for that question. Yes, these will all be recorded, and I believe Startup Nation will have these recorded as well and promoted out through their posting as well. So multiple different avenues that you can view these recordings of these sessions. But I also wanted to take the time, because I know having these office hours and coming from Dell Technologies being very obviously technology forward, I wanted to have the conversation around what are some work from home 101 solutions that are going to be kind of easily applicable to industries and businesses and startups across all walks of life. So I wanted to highlight, if you were to visit Dell.com, we have quite a few different families of systems and options that are out there for you to choose. It may be overwhelming, just not quite knowing what exact solution is going to be best for your business. We work truly with every industry. So entrepreneurs and startups, small businesses, from lawyers to architects to communication firms. There's just so many different industries and types of businesses that we're working with. And that's where we have these different families of laptops and desktops and different solutions that are catered to and truly built with the materials in mind for these different walks of life of industries and roles within businesses. So not to get too technical, but I wanted to highlight our main families of systems and just kind of give you a highlight or a high-level knowledge of what each of these are meant for. And of course, please drop your comments in if you've maybe been on the website and looking at our Latitude line or our Vostro line and you're just not quite sure some different aspects of it, please shout that out in the questions in the comments section, and I will cover those as I go along. So to start on the left-hand side, our Inspiron line. So our Inspiron line is really viewed as you'll see it both on our consumer side and our business side. So obviously we represent small businesses for startups, entrepreneurs, and small businesses 1 to 99 employees, as I mentioned earlier in the call. But we also do have a consumer side. So if you're you have a small business, but you are looking to introduce a consumer-grade product into your environment, our Inspirons are going to be that hybrid where it's that entry-level consumer light business use for a system. And reason being is they are going to be made with materials that are more fit for a lighter use. So maybe 4 or 5 hours a day that you're using the system, maybe lightly surfing the internet or using it to stream some information earlier in the day or later in the evenings. So this is what the Inspirons are really geared towards. And we do, within all of our different families of systems, you'll see very similar components in each of them. So, these laptops and desktops are made up of a processor and RAM and a hard drive for your storage. So they're really composed of all of the same internal inner workings, but some are just going to be built up a little bit more and a little bit more highly configured than others. So our Inspire line, we do have, an array of different options across sizes. So if you're looking for a smaller 13 or 14 inch, that's a little bit more mobile for you, or you can go all the way up to a 17 inch. So if you're in the business of having the larger laptop and you're looking for that in your solution, that's where we can find that in the Inspire line as well. We also go into our Vostros, and so this is truly the system that's built for small business users. So this is going to be really affordable, but also have the business quality and business upgrades that you're looking for in your laptop. So it will have an anti-glare screen. So right now you aren't running into this as much, but some can attest that being in the office with fluorescent lights and having a glare on the screen, it can really do a number on your eyes, and squinting or trying to, maneuver your body to see around the glare. All of these things can add up over time and be really uncomfortable. So having these small tweaks of upgrades, like having an anti-glare screen and having free fall sensors. So if you were to, your laptop were to fall off the desk or something were to happen to it, or if you're walking from the kitchen to the living room, things like that, and you have a traditional hard drive, it will actually stop your hard drive from having any impact, caused to it to compromise your data that's on that hard drive. So we have a lot of different upgrades business-wise in the Vostros that can go a long way for small business users. And then on our far right side, our Latitudes and our XPS, I'll kind of explain these as more of your workhorse systems, especially the Latitudes. So those are our corporate grade workhorse laptops. And so actually I work off of a Latitude 5000 series, and you'll see we also have different series within our families of laptops. And to easily put that, it's just good, better, best. It's how we can configure them, how highly they can be configured. So within the Latitudes, they're highly expandable, highly configurable, and they're really, like I said, the workhorse. So if you need a system that is dependable for 8 to 10 hours a day, you're really pushing it to its limits, that's where the Latitudes are going to come into play and be really useful for your business and really powerful. They have fans that are going to be really powerful to keep that system cool for that amount of time and that many hours, and really be configured quite highly if you are running stronger, more dense applications. And then on the far right here, you'll see our XPS line. And you've maybe seen some newer commercials that have come out recently on our new XPS. We have just released a new 13 and 15 inch. When I say these systems are beautiful, they really truly are. They're works of art, honestly. They are our most streamlined laptops that we have on the market, extremely light. So if you are looking to be customer facing, to have a really updated, upgraded, streamlined system that is mobile, and I know customer facing right now is a little bit different, but as we start to transition back into that work atmosphere, these are going to be highly useful. And as you can see, these can come in different formats where they're 2-in-1 options or your traditional laptops. So with the 2-in-1, for example, like in this photo, you can actually fold that system all the way over and use it as a tablet. So you're kind of truly having two different devices than one, having that laptop and tablet. And we have some great accessories to pair along with it, such as our active pen. So if you are in the creative space, if you are a designer, an animator, a photographer, anything in that nature, architect, these are really going to be great systems because they are with the creative in mind, having that fit to edge screen, really high quality. Some come in the 4K options. So these are just really powerful, but really beautiful and creative based systems. So this just kind of gives you an idea of our laptop solutions. And I definitely want to take a moment and see if any questions have come through specifically to the laptop solutions or anything that I've covered so far.
Nothing posted in the chat here, but does anybody have any questions about the hardware? Give it a minute.
And obviously within the different laptop solutions that we have out there, these again are for the most part highly customizable, and we're able to have a conversation with you, get to know your small business through our small business advisors, and understand what your needs are, understanding what applications you're using daily. And that's what's going to kind of funnel us down to make this decision and recommendation of, hearing what you have to say, hearing what your needs are and your pain points. I recommend the Latitude laptop. So if you, even after this, little preview of what we have, if you're still not quite sure what's going to work best for you, we do have a team of small business advisors out in Nashville, Tennessee, and Round Rock, Texas, just outside of Austin, that are ready and waiting to have these conversations with small businesses across the country to have these recommendations and suggestions.
Cool. No questions quite yet.
Okay, perfect. All right, so next up, we do have our desktop solution. So really similar story here of having these different families and having a recommendation, kind of a recommended industry or customer in mind whenever we had introduced these systems. So Vosters, again, are really geared towards our small business customers. It's that hybrid of that early stage of a small business, really affordable but still powerful to run those applications that you're utilizing every single day. And we also move into our OptiPlex. So our OptiPlex line, we have quite a few different formats of our OptiPlex line, and these are viewed similar to our Latitude laptops. So those ones that I said are just the workhorse systems to get the job done. If you're pushing that 8, 10, 12 hours a day, your OptiPlex is that same version in a desktop form. So you'll see for this specific desktop, it's actually an all-in-one. So it doesn't have a separate tower involved. It's just the monitor with the actual CPU and the computer unit built into that system. So makes for a really clean desk setup. So if you are looking to just have a single monitor or even dual monitors, you can hook up an external monitor to these OptiPlex all-in-one desktops as well. But it is a really clean real estate looking desk setup that you have going on, and it's still extremely powerful workhorse, can be scalable and expandable to your business, and even touchscreen applicable. So if you are used to the world of touchscreen these days, we have laptops and desktop solutions in the all-in-one version that have touchscreen available. And then lastly, for the desktop solutions that we have to offer, we have our precision workstations. And so you will see those listed on the website labeled as a workstation. So whenever I say workhorse computer for our OptiPlex and Latitude, the precisions are workhorse and then some. So these are truly the most scalable desktop solutions that we have on the market. And these can be highly, highly configurable. So if you are needing multiple hard drives and a really high amount of RAM, so if you're needing a lot of multitasking abilities, you'll see that commonly suggested in our precision desktops and our precision workstations. We actually also have a laptop version called the mobile workstation as well. And these are really meant for those who are using CAD heavy programming. So if you are looking for a CAD level or Revit level solution, that's where we would recommend these precisions, either in the desktop form or those mobile precisions. So hopefully this just gives you a really good idea and a really clean view of the families of laptop solutions and desktop solutions that we have out there. And but I do want to note, when you think of Dell Technologies, you may be used to think of just laptops and desktops, but we do offer so much more. We really want to be that full solution provider when it comes to technology. So I also wanted to just highlight some other areas that we do offer, along with our accessories, and then also some enterprise best practices or enterprise solutions as well. So the work from home accessories is a really hot topic right now, obviously what's catered to this entire conversation. And those are just the simple accessories that you can introduce into your work setup and your dedicated desk space that I mentioned earlier in the accessory form. So really low cost. It doesn't take much from an investment standpoint to introduce these accessories into your environment, but can make a really big difference from an efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity standpoint. So just as simple as a wired headset, we have wireless options as well. But it just is, again, that step into a professional direction where you have a dedicated headset to kind of avoid that outside noise that you have going on. You might still hear a dog bark or some kids screaming in the background, or the TV on maybe in the background based on where you're working within your home. But it really just serves for a really clear, crisp conversation and audio sound. So, dedicated headsets are important. Dedicated webcam is another solution that we have out there. So we have some third-party vendors such as Logitech that we have some great webcams available, some that are shipping fast, especially with the demand that's out there right now. So if you are on Zoom constantly or these different streaming platforms constantly every single day connecting with your employees and your customers, having a dedicated webcam and not having to only utilize your laptop webcam is really important and can go a long way. We also have external monitors. So Dell has been #1 in monitors for over 20 years. We have some really amazing monitors from small up to large scale. So if you're looking for a simple 24-inch monitor or 27-inch, which are really popular, maybe having dual monitors, or if you are in the type of business, maybe trading, stock trading, anything like that, an analyst, if you have a ton of different applications and spreadsheets open at once, we have some really great large scale monitors that are 34, 38, 49-inch that can really truly take up a whole desk. But you can have a multi-application approach with screen splitting and really being able to customize what your applications look like on that large scale monitor. So we have, all walks of life. And if you are in that creative space, as I mentioned earlier, we do have 4K, 8K, color correcting, color gamut monitors as well out there. So we can really get specific not only on the desktop laptop side of house, but on your monitor side of house as well. And we do recommend having dual monitors. It helps a lot with productivity. If you were working from home off of your 14 or 15-inch laptop and you introduce 1 or 2 external monitors, you will see your productivity skyrocket, honestly. And then some of the other accessories that you'll see, wireless mouse and keyboard combos. I'm using one right now. It just also is just another small nuance that you can make to make your system and your productivity go up. And then also docking stations. So if you are looking to have multiple monitors in your solution and your dedicated workspace, having a docking station eliminates kind of the implication that you may have with a smaller laptop that you're lacking the ports that you need, such as an RJ45, an Ethernet port, or multiple USB ports for all of your different accessories, your wireless accessories that you're hooking up. And if you're wanting to have multiple monitors, having those monitor ports as well. So the small little square box in the photo and those 2 round accessories, those are similar to and exactly what I'm speaking of whenever I say docking station. So, and this is kind of a view of what it looks like actually on the desk. So having a docking station, a laptop, an external monitor, your headset, your wireless mouse and keyboard combo, it really can, come together as a full solution. And actually, we have a giveaway that we're so excited about through Detroit Startup Week and our partner Startup Nation and Dell Technologies. We are actually giving away a full work from home, we call it work from anywhere solution, that's worth over $3,000, almost $3,500 in value. And it does include an XPS laptop, an XPS 13 laptop, a 34-inch curved monitor, a docking station, a headset, a webcam, and a wireless mouse and keyboard combo. So if you have registered, that's fantastic. Make sure to register for that giveaway. We are going to announce that tomorrow to 1 lucky winner, so I'm so excited about that. But I also, I'll pause here for questions just in case.
No questions in the chat. Anybody have any questions about that? Could you remind everybody, so how do you apply for the giveaway there?
Yep, so it should be on the registration page within the Detroit Startup Week. And we'll make sure to have like a reminder sent out for that or kind of just highlight where you can actually go register, but that should be through the registration page.
Got it, thanks.
Perfect. All right, and so next up, so along with our, laptops, desktops, accessories, everything that you're seeing on a daily basis that you're utilizing, I also wanted to highlight our enterprise solutions as well. And so this is an area that Dell, really wanted to make sure that we capture because, again, we do want to be that full solution provider. So depending on the size of your business, whether you're a small business or growing into a medium-sized business, enterprise conversations is really important to have. And this is where you can have this conversation with our small business advisors to just understand, at what point should I start thinking of these enterprise solutions? If you are a solo entrepreneur at the time, but you do plan on hiring some employees in the future, what should my strategy be for expanding my business and expanding my technology infrastructure into an enterprise conversation? And so we love this kind of web channel that you see before you, where it really showcases what different areas of this enterprise solution that we can tackle. So of course, you start with the internet and you move through your router. From your router, you move into your firewall. So that's that intrusion protection from the outside. And then you would connect to a switch. And a switch is what's going to allow you to connect to multiple different devices within your environment. So connecting to your server and then connecting to your laptops and your desktops. So your endpoint devices. So it's a lot to say, it's a lot to think of, but this can really be boiled down very specific to your business, depending the size. And we get a lot of questions around, why do I need a server? What is a server? When should I introduce a server into my environment? So I did want to cover those. So in case you were about to ask, I might answer your question in just a moment here. But the overall question of what is a server is really purely just a centralized networkable storage. So if you are, and reasons why you may need a server is dependent on potentially how many employees that you have within your environment. So if you are just a solo entrepreneur, like I mentioned, you may not necessarily need a server immediately. But if you do have 3, 4, 5 employees and you are all having to work off of the same files or documents, share information, or utilize the same application that's being hosted, it's really advantageous to look into introducing a server, because not only is it going to be more efficient and more productive having a server be the centralized storage unit and the centralized kind of networking unit within your environment, it's also going to be more secure. For a multitude of different reasons. We also recommend having a server be introduced into your environment if you have any proprietary software or major applications based on your industry that all of your employees are utilizing. It takes, a lot of resources to run that, especially if multiple people are accessing it at the same time, things of that nature. So hosting that on a server and utilizing your server's resources can go a long way in your productivity, again, and efficiency. So you see kind of the common thread of what our goal is with all of our technology solutions there. We also recommend, if you are handling really critical customer information or company information, it's recommended to have that centralized storage. We mentioned in this approach to be more secure and having your cybersecurity be at the priority and at the forefront, and having your antivirus on your endpoint systems. Antivirus does expire sometimes. And if you aren't on top of when you are refreshing that antivirus, there could be a gap period that your system could be vulnerable. And so if you are, solely saving all of your important data information locally on your laptop or desktop, and you don't have it stored in a centralized storage, something like a server, it can be really detrimental if something were to compromise your information on your laptop or desktop, if that's the sole place it's being saved. So that's a really important information. And that goes to say also, like I mentioned, with being HIPAA compliant, if you are within, if you're a law office, or if you are within the medical industry or the medical space, and you have to be HIPAA compliant and keep this customer information for 7 years or however long, it's really important to introduce a server into your environment as well. Last reason to introduce a server before I move on is if you are hosting a website. So if you're actually hosting directly, you're not going through a third-party source to host a website, having a web server is really important. So you're able to store and deliver all of that important information for that website. So that's overall what a server is, the purpose of it, and kind of why you would want to introduce it. We commonly also get the questions of, well, I'm utilizing a desktop as a server and I have 5, 6 employees. We call that peer-to-peer networking. It definitely can work, but you kind of think of it as a chain of events. So, to get to one piece of information, if you start with that desktop that's acting as a server and you need to go all the way over to this system that's trying to access it, it then has to move through every single endpoint device that's connected to that desktop. So it's a really slow process, and again, it can be extremely problematic if your security is not top of mind in that structure as well. So we wanted to kind of just showcase these enterprise solutions because it is a really large part of growing your business and being able to scale properly and effectively. And this is where servers and these enterprise solutions can come into play. And so if you are right now looking at your business as either a solo entrepreneur, a startup, 5 employees, you again are not too small to introduce a server or having an enterprise environment. And so what we can do is actually look into what solution works best for you right now, scalability wise. And then if you are looking to grow by 5 employees, 10 employees, 20 employees within the coming years, we're going to make sure that we put you into a solution that grows with you. We recommend keeping your servers for about 7 years. And that's really the cycle that we're recommending just based on security and progress in technology on the server side. So we want to recommend a server that's you're not going to grow out of in 2 years and waste your capital in that sense. We are going to be really specific to what your business is now and where you're wanting to grow. And those are the conversations that you're having with our small business advisors. So this really concludes what overall this work from home guide, everything from the best practices of what you can apply to yourself and your employees, what you can recommend out there, and then also this 101 on the work from home solutions that we have to offer within Dell Technologies for small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups. So I wanted to go ahead and flash my contact information up. If you do have additional questions for me, if you do want to get in touch with a small business advisor, this is definitely where you can start. I'm happy to get you in touch with someone from there. So through Detroit Startup Week and our partnership with Startup Nation, we can offer some really amazing benefits as well through Dell Technologies. So we have Dell Financial Services, which is our financing branch. So if you are looking for leasing options or other financing options there, we can have that discussion. We also offer some really great promotions. And so right now, actually through the 1st of July, you can access an additional 10% off on all Dell branded equipment. So just as I mentioned, laptops, desktops, accessories, monitors, now we do have that current promotion going on. So if you are interested in either getting in contact with myself, you see my email there, Megan_Wright@Dell.com. And then you can also visit Dell.com/Startup Nation. And that's where you can either access those great savings or you can get in touch with our small business advisors out of Round Rock and Nashville, Tennessee, and actually have those conversations in depth of your small business or your startup, and make sure that you're putting your money exactly where it needs to go in your technology infrastructure and finding the best solution for you and your employees. But this really does conclude the overall conversation today, but it being a fluid open office hour, I wanted to give a chance for the audience to ask additional questions that you may have.
Karen just commented that we recently bought a server from DFS. Great service team.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. And if Karen doesn't mind sharing what type of business or startup she works within, that would be really great to hear and great to know. As well as anyone else. I know early in the call we asked, where is everyone tuning in from? I'm based out of Houston, Texas. So I was in Austin, Texas for about 3 years working at the headquarters, and now I work remote, as I mentioned, out of Houston, Texas.
I'm coming out of Detroit.
And I did have the opportunity to visit Detroit in December with our partner Startup Nation out there. And, it's an amazing city. I made this comparison, I think it was yesterday, that Austin and Detroit seem very similar with just the work ethic and the absolute grind out there for entrepreneurs and startups. So I'm happy or hopeful to go back once I'm able to travel again post-COVID up to Detroit.
Nice. And Karen commented with Another Way Pregnancy Center in Farmington Hills, Michigan. So right near Detroit.
Great. Well, I'm loving to hear that everything's working well with the service and your server that came from Dell Technologies. So that's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, does anyone else have any other questions? We actually are going to be transitioning into a 4 p.m. Oh, great. But Cynthia chimed in, coming live from Ann Arbor, Michigan. An hour outside of Detroit, Megan. She said, what computer do you recommend for an artist who wants to start a business?
I would definitely recommend looking into our XPS line. That is going to be, like I said, that's really fit and created and manufactured for the creative industry. So if you are an artist, but you're looking to introduce technology into your medium of how you are either drawing or designing your art, I would recommend looking into those XPS. But then also our Inspiron line, if you are looking for, starting with like an entry-level technology solution, we do have our 5000 and 7000 series Inspirons that have the 2-in-1 aspect and also have some really great screen qualities as well. So I would look at either, if you're looking at for an entry level, I'll look at those Inspirons, and then if you're looking for kind of your top of the line for design and art, I would look at our XPS line.
Nice. All right, as we're wrapping up, does anyone else have any last minute questions? And then also I added Megan's email here in the chat that she flashed on the screen. So feel free to reach out to her directly. That's Megan underscore at Dell, excuse me, Megan underscore Wright at Dell.com. I'm going to post it again. So feel free to follow up with her. And otherwise, thank you everybody for joining. And remember to check the Startup Week schedule, both to make sure that you've registered for the Dell giveaway and also for other excellent sessions that we have the rest of today and tomorrow. So thank you everybody so much. And thank you, Megan, for the awesome presentation. That was great.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Bye.